Hello and welcome to Neuroshambles, the podcast that aims to shine a light into some of the murkier corners of what it's like to parent neurodivergent kids. I'm Mark Allen, and every episode I'm going to be swapping stories with my guests about some of the frankly ludicrous nonsense we have to deal with on a daily basis. So, if you're anything like me and you're feeling frazzled, overwhelmed and pretty much an outcast from polite society, join me. Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Neuroshambles, which is the Christmas special. Primarily because it's nearly Christmas, not because it's particularly special. I mean, it is still a great episode, but don't get your hopes up is what I'm saying. So we're doing the usual classics. We've got Meet the Guest, where we're actually going to be re-meeting a guest that we've had on before, which I'm very excited by, where we're going to be talking about Christmas and all of the fun and games that we usually encounter at Christmas time. We've also got neurodiversity champions and tiny epic wins, plenty of what the flip moments as well to share with you. So that's all to come up. But for now,
Meet the Guest.
So it's time to meet the guest, and this time, for a first in Neuroshambles, we are meeting a guest that has been on before. So we are reacquainting ourselves with a guest. So I'd love to welcome back to Neuroshambles, Belle.
Hello, Mark. Hi, great to be back. It's really, really wonderful to be back.
Belle from episode 2.
Episode 2.
We previously talked about birthday parties. If you haven't listened to episode 2, Belle is actually my guest's pseudonym. It's not her actual name. But she wanted to be anonymous, and I was happy to oblige.
Full on Disney disguise. If you could see me, I'd be gilded in gold.
Oh, delightful. It's quite fitting that you're back for the Christmas episode, because I can now call you Jingle Bell.
Jingle Bell! Oh, who'd have thought? Why didn't I think of that one first?
It's an actual joke on the podcast, I think, for the first time. So yes, it's delightful to have you back. Now, obviously, you've kind of talked about your kids in the podcast before, but
Yep.
if you'd like to just kind of give us another little lowdown on the neurodivergencies in your household.
Bit of a summary, bit of a status update, I suppose. So I've got 2 children. Amber is 8, she'll be 9 before too long. She is diagnosed as autistic with PDA and SPD. Most of our listeners will probably be fairly familiar with those acronyms, and I know we've gone over them in previous episodes. And I've also got Oscar, who is 7 now, and he has Tourette's, and he is awaiting assessment for autism and ADHD.
Okay, so now we've had our reacquainting ourselves with the guest, and we've had a quick catch up. I think it is time to look at the next section.
What's the topic of the week?
Okay, so this the topic of this particular podcast is unsurprisingly Christmas.
Christmas. Yeah. I don't know whether to say Merry Christmas or whether to go bar humbug.
You know, if you think about it, for most neurotypical families, Christmas is a magical time. It's fun and it's exciting. It is a great way to spend quality time with your family. And, you know, I'm guessing, admittedly, even for neuro vanilla families, which I'm sure we're used to dealing with, Christmas can be quite taxing as well. Kids are very excited and they're sort of overexcited and a little bit spoiled, and that can get a bit much. But if you're in a neurodivergent family, a neuroshambolic family, it's even more so, you know, from the kind of hellishly prolonged build up to Christmas to the actual day itself, it can be pretty trying, I think.
It's quite a full-on sort of sensory explosion of glitter and noise and general garishness, isn't it? And it lasts for so long.
It does now. Yeah. I mean, it's like, basically, as soon as Halloween's out the door, Santa comes in.
That's it. You're on Christmas prep countdown.
Jay is absolutely enraged by this. He will not stomach an early intervention of Santa. So, is Christmas something that you personally enjoy, Belle, at Christmas?
I think I used to. As a kid, I absolutely loved it. And I think as I've grown as a parent, I've realised that I had some very set expectations of Christmas and when the kids were much younger, I was absolutely dead set on recreating that magic.
Yeah.
And, even hand making teacher gifts. I think one year I stayed up till 2 o'clock in the
Oh
morning
my
making
God.
hand making truffles for little favors for the teachers. I mean, who does that? But I think if I reflect back to what created that Christmas magic for me as a kid, it was, staying at home on Christmas Day, having turkey for Christmas dinner, having a real tree, not a plastic one, and having a massive pile of presents. So you got that rush on Christmas morning, that shock factor.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And
At no point did you feel festive cheer based on the fact that your teacher was getting handmade truffles.
self-imposed expectations.
Exactly. No, this is the thing, though. I think as parents of neurodivergent kids, anyway, you do try to live up to kind of what a way to how you were parented. I guess if you've got fond memories of childhood,
Mm.
you go, oh yeah, I want to recreate. You sort of have visions of that being how your life is going to go and how your family Christmases are going to go. And
Bucks Fizz for breakfast and for the rest of the
I
day.
quite fancy that. I do have to do driving at Christmas though, so not really.
What,
Unless
you
you're
leave the
talking about.
house on Christmas Day?
Oh, dude, there's a whole family roadshow that has to happen on Christmas, and
I'm quite amazed your kids let that happen.
I mean, yeah, we'll get onto that. I'll explain our Christmas routine and where that has caused issues historically. But we have a sort of a pretty set Christmas routine that works really well until other people are introduced. Basically, when we can control the variables, it works beautifully. But for you in your household, then you're all on board with Christmas, I presume.
Yeah, fairly. I think, we do Christmas, the kids know Christmas and they kind of know the Christmas routine. And I think over the last few years we've kind of whittled down to what works better. And last Christmas worked better because we just scaled back on certain things. We didn't stress that people didn't want to eat Christmas dinner at the table. Eventually they did. We
Okay.
had different dinner options for different people because actually the more important thing was that everybody was happy and was comfortable, and we just wanted peace on Christmas. And actually, so we kind of really redefined our expectations on what made Christmas Christmassy
I think that's
for
it, isn't
us.
it? Yeah, it is. I mean, like,
Mm.
like I say, you start to sort of crowbar your Christmas expectations in there, but if eventually you just get, nah, we don't need to do any of that anymore. It's slightly different in our family in that Tam absolutely hates Christmas. Tam can't stand it. They can't abide it, so it's all on me to bring the festive cheer. Like everyone else is into it, but Tam is like, I am not helping. I do not want a tree. I mean, if I wasn't here, it would just be a sterile environment. You might get a Christmas card. That's about it. So whereas I'm just like, we're getting a tree, we're getting decorations on that tree. It's going to be mayhem, and for the whole month of December, um, and I love it. But I completely get it from Tam's perspective as well, because
Yeah.
Tam's neurodivergent, and ADHD plays a big part of that as well. Um, and I was talking to Tam about it last night, and they were saying, I just feel so cluttered. I feel like my house is shrinking because there's so much. We've got a fucking tree in the living room. That wasn't there before. So we've got to move other stuff out of the
No.
way to get the tree in the living room. And we've got to get all of the decorations out and, and the tinsel, which is kind of, yeah, there's just clutter and there's visual noise that I don't think Tam fully appreciates.
No, that's Christmas is very much the maker of mess and chaos and clutter. And we have enough clutter here as it is, which we, probably shouldn't have when, I mean, Amber's, she had a recent report done with an occupational therapist, and they said that she has additional sensitivity to both auditory and visual stimulation.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, okay, clutter, things like that,
Yeah.
probably not going to help then. And then that kind of frames a reaction that I had from her last Christmas about a particular issue, which I'm sure we'll come on to.
Okay.
And it's, that sensory overload of Christmas,
Yeah,
you
because
kind of,
it's so
as a
visceral, isn't it?
neurotypical, you just forget.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'll be like, hey, there's nothing wrong getting a tree in our house. I think if Tam had their way, they would basically just hibernate for the whole of December, just get in a box
Yeah.
and then come out in the new year when everything's cleared away like a grumpy tortoise. In December, it's I always find that there is a creeping dysregulation as the month progresses towards Christmas. I don't know if
Oh,
you have the same.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's going to be slightly different for us this year because Amber's been out of school since May. So we
Right.
haven't at the moment got this situation where she's kind of surrounded by all of the school related Christmas tension and
Hmm.
stimulus. So I'm curious to see how that plays out this year. I mean, if I've learned anything over the last sort of year or so with her, is that, you know, even things like counting down are a trigger to her and a demand to her that she struggles
Oh
with, and
wow.
with
Okay.
triggers that perhaps we hadn't realized before. So, perhaps all of those things previously have contributed to that kind of path of dysregulation that kind of increases and increases and increases as Christmas arrives.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. This is the interesting thing is, I mean, school is such a trigger. I think for a lot of
Yeah.
neurodivergent kids, for so many reasons in the build up to Christmas. So
Mhm.
it'd be really
Mhm.
interesting to see, yeah, to see how Amber kind of deals with not having those triggers because I know,
Yeah.
from my lot, there's always fun events they put on, right? It's like, oh, let's all watch Elf for a day, and yeah, and to school disco, and let's practice for the carol concert. And so, like the regular lessons, the sort of the routine that they rely upon really to keep them
Mhm.
regulated, just go to shit at Christmas.
And the uptick of mufti days, mufti day for this, mufti day for that, own clothes day, Christmas jumper day, don't know,
Oh
wear
man,
Rudolph's
that one
nose
that
day.
drives me crazy in Christmas
Ridiculous.
as well. That really ramps up. It's like wear a Christmas jumper day, dress as an elf day, dress as a fucking sprout day. It's relentless, and I don't know. It's sort of concertinaed into Christmas, and there's lots of that. And there's two issues with those. Yeah, with that. Firstly, my kids as they get more dysregulated, are much more kind of acutely affected by clothing. Jay in
Mhm.
particular will be fine. And then if he's like got to wear a Christmas jumper, he's super like acutely itchy in a jumper, and he won't want to wear certain shoes because they're too tight. And so
Mhm.
having that extra demand on him is a real problem, and he's really reluctant to go in. And we worked out the way around that. Well, firstly, the way around that now is just don't do it. It's fine. I don't care, and he doesn't care. It's not like he cares that his peers are judging him for not wearing a Christmas jumper.
Mm.
He's his own person. But before we kind of realised that, what we did is we put them in thermal base layers, like really soft thermal base layers, and he loves that, and Otto loves that. And then they can wear stuff over the top of it, and they don't feel the itchiness. But now we just don't bother.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because Amber, she will insist on wearing stuff to fit into what she perceives to be the social norm, even if actually she finds it distressing.
Hmm.
And that's something we've seen with her quite a lot, actually, like with school uniform. She's been given permission to not wear school uniform because of her sensory needs, but she insists on, when she's at school, she insists on wearing it. It'd be the same with Christmas jumpers and things like that, any of that kind of stuff. If that's what she perceives to be the social expectation, she will enforce that upon herself. Even if
Yeah,
everybody else stands that down and says, no, you don't need to. Well, no, it's Christmas. It's Christmas jumper day. I have to wear a Christmas jumper
yeah,
regardless.
yeah.
And
Otto
that's
has a
really,
big,
really tough.
yeah. Otto has a big problem with that as well. But more from a choice perspective, he panics about
Mm,
not knowing what to wear and not having
yeah.
the right outfit. Um, so he panics for a different reason. So they should just stop this nonsense. I know,
I
I
know.
know it's
They just
quite
they just don't
fun.
realise it's not inclusive. It's not
It's not, but
inclusive.
then on the other hand, do we want to be the Christmas Grinches that go, oh, they shouldn't do that?
Yeah,
Because
well, this is it, isn't it? Those people again, those people that crept out on episode 2 about birthday parties and rolling their
yeah,
eyes in the
exactly,
background, are coming
exactly.
back out again to roll their eyes about Christmas and
I
everything
know.
it brings with it.
Do you think she's going to miss out on sort of the Christmas? performances as well, the Christmas concerts, because that's a big thing at Christmas.
That's an interesting one. Um, she's had one year was a complete horror show where I went to see her do her nativity, just watched her up on the stage. She must have been, it was I think it was probably year two.
Right. Hmm.
And I just sat there in the audience completely, hemmed in with all these parents around me, couldn't move. And
Hmm.
she just sat there and she just sobbed her whole way through it. And it was awful. And I just wanted to go and scoop her up and I couldn't get to her. And it was horrible. And I did give the teacher some words of advice after that, saying you should have supported her out of that situation because that was
Yeah, totally.
awful.
What are they doing, leaving her crying on the stage?
Well, exactly. So you can imagine the sort of our anticipation of the next one, where she had insisted on going to choir practice and insisted on being involved. And the teacher said, "Oh, we've given her a speaking part." I said, "Sorry, what? A speaking part?" Okay. But do you know
And
what? Actually,
yeah,
she got up there and she did it. And we
awesome.
were so proud of her. So proud of her. I mean, everything's gone to rats since then, where school's concerned. That's definitely not going to happen this year. But at that point in time, it was a real achievement for her that she kind of overcame her
Yeah,
sort of feelings and her fears, and she did stand up and she did read her little speech, and it was great. We were so proud of her.
yeah. I remember because nativity, I think in reception, uh, certainly it is. That's like your first school show. Is the first time you see all of your kids
Yeah,
sort of on the stage with other kids, and that was a very early sign to us that Jay and Otto were both very different, but for completely different reasons.
yeah.
So Jay got I don't quite know why, but the nativity that year was not about Christmas, or it was about a band. I can't even remember. He was a conductor. I don't quite. I can't remember. Genuinely, the plot was lost on me. I'll be honest. I'm not judging them. It wasn't the performance. It wasn't the staging. It was just a bit. It was a bit out there. Um, but he was a conductor, and he had the most speaking, and he was put right in the middle of the stage. And I think now in hindsight, it's because he had no stage fright, because he doesn't really care about other people judging him, right? He's not thinking about them. He's just in his own world. Well, great. Yeah, I'll be a conductor. Give me the baton. I'll crack on. And he did that. And he'd do his little line, and he did it really well. And then he'd sit down, but he'd be right in the middle of the stage. And I don't know if they sort of planned for this. When he wasn't speaking, and when other people were speaking, he was all over the place. He was flopping about. He
It's just
was
trip
like,
hazard.
at one point, he started putting the baton up his nose. He started picking his nose with the conductor's baton. I'm just like, my God, I'm so proud. I'm so proud of
Oh
my
dear.
child. Um, but he didn't give a hoot, because everyone because he doesn't realize that people are watching him, right? Um, so that was an early sign. Otto, on the other hand, on his nativity, like he is anxious in a lot of situations. So I would
Mm.
have predicted that he might have been anxious for his nativity. But what we are learning about Otto is that if there's music involved, anxiety just disappears, and he just fucking goes for it.
That's a
Right? So
useful skill to have in the back
no, it
pocket,
really
though.
is. It's really
Nervous
odd
child,
because
pop on the tunes.
yeah, it's really it's magic to him. I don't know what happened. So he's on stage and everyone's singing, carols and stuff, and they're just sort of standing there and singing and sort of staying still, and he is rocking out, literally just like dancing. People are like coming up to me after, going, he's got some moves, hasn't he? I was like, yes, he does. um Not from me, but so he was just going for it, and it was quite nice to see. Then the subsequent years, he sort of insisted, like, so I think the last year that he was at the primary school, he refused to do it
Mm.
unless he was given a drum. Right? So
Yeah, that's going to
he
go
would
well,
not
isn't
do
it?
it unless he had a drum. So they were like, Okay, fine, we'll give you a drum. So, in the middle of this carol concert, just like Animal from the Muppets, he's just there on the drum, just losing it. Again, it's like a lot of enthusiasm, no anxiety at this point because he's got a drum. What's to be anxious about? Just drowning out the rest of them, basically. Um, so yeah, he treats it very differently. But probably my favourite one with Jay, and again, this sort of ties in with his sort of aversion to wearing Christmas jumpers,
Yeah.
is that they did a carol concert, and they'd been practicing for ages. And he decided he was not going to wear a Christmas jumper. Everyone else was wearing a Christmas, literally everyone else in his whole year was wearing a Christmas jumper. Not Jay, no. It was a performance, so he's got to make the effort. So he wore a suit. Okay,
Excellent.
so you're on
Absolutely dapper.
exactly. And again, he got into the middle somehow. So you've got this sea of faces of all these children wearing Christmas jumpers, singing Christmas songs, and Jay is in the middle of them wearing a full-on suit, looking,
Representing the corporate identity of Christmas.
yeah, he looks like their manager, basically. He's there going, let them sing, let the kids sing, guys. And I was watching this and going, well, that's fine. And he was singing. And then all of a sudden, he stopped singing and he started
Uh-oh.
scowling, like
Oh no.
really got his proper grumpy face on. You know, that autistic, really like cross
Yeah.
face. My face is going to portray exactly what I'm feeling right now, and I don't care who knows it. And I don't know. I didn't know what the problem was. And I spoke to him afterwards. I was like, "What? You got a bit grumpy for a while back there, Jay. What? What happened?" He went, "I saw two people talking, right? So
Oh
two
no.
people in the audience of like maybe hundreds were
They're
talking."
not
And he
following the
was like,
rules though. That's so
"No,
important. And the justice.
exactly."
Where's the justice? Where's the teacher sending them out?
Exactly. So there were two grown-ups who were at the back, right at the back, and he was just really like giving them evils. And they were oblivious to it, and I was not. I was very fully aware of it. Um, he stood out like a sore thumb. I think so many people sort of suspend disbelief at Christmas. There is a belief in magic, and I was wondering if your kids, before I go on with this bit, just be aware that I'm going to talk about the provenance of Father Christmas, and if that's going to cause a problem to anyone listening, please just take action now. But Father Christmas,
Mm.
do your children still believe?
I don't know. There was an
Okay,
incident en route to Legoland this year, and I don't know if it was just PDA talking or whether it was
right.
inner 8-year-old talking, but there was some kind of vicious comment made towards Oscar about, Father Christmas no longer existing.
Oh my
To
God.
which point I was like, oh, my worst nightmares have come true. Oh no, she's ruined Christmas
What
for
did you do?
everybody. I cuffed it a little bit and just went, oh, that's a load of rubbish. I mean, how on earth do you think I would be able to afford all of those presents? I already buy you the lot under the tree. Do you think I can afford the rest of them as well? I mean, what am I, made of money? It's not like we drive in a golden Lamborghini and that jazz. And really sort of, kind of played it out with him and just sort of
Yeah.
made him think it was just a bit ridiculous. And but I did
Yeah.
then
Was
sort of,
Oscar on board with that?
I think so. I don't think you'll ever really know because I think there's always that weird transitional period as a kid that, I remember, and I think, I was playing along with it just because I didn't want to hurt my parents' feelings at one point, you know. So who knows?
Well, I'll tell you who knows. Jay knows.
The cat is out of the Christmas
and
bag.
and we did not tell Jay. He told us.
Uh-huh.
It was yeah. He was 4, and he just went like he was breaking news to us. Like, Daddy, I think you need to sit down. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to tell you that Santa is not real. I was like, oh, what makes you say that, Jay? And it was like, oh, come on. Of course he's not going to be able to get around the world in all that time. It's logistically impossible.
Well, it's the literal thinking, isn't it? It's the literal
It
thinking.
is. There's no magic there, is it? It's just like, of
No.
course, this is absolutely ludicrous suggestion. And he just, there was no sometimes where they're sort of fishing for you to tell them. It
Hmm.
was like, no, just like he just came out with it. It was a cold, hard fact that Santa is not real. And I'd be an idiot if I didn't believe that. So I sort of went, okay, but you don't tell your brother, okay?
Yeah, I didn't quite
And
get that luxury, and I don't know. There's a story that we'll go on to a little bit later, specifically about last Christmas, where I'm sure she believed last Christmas, but I'm not so sure she does now.
okay, yeah, yeah. Well, in fairness to Jay, he has never told Otto.
Mm,
He's always like kept it as a bit of a kind of nudge and a wink secret between us, which he quite likes that, I think,
yeah.
in a way. So that's quite nice. Otto is he broached the subject last year, and I sort of said, "Well, do you want him to be real? Because if he's not real, then the presents aren't going to appear, are they?" And he was like, "No, yeah, yeah, he's real. He's fine. He's real." So that was that nipped in the bud. And India, I think, still believes in the magic at the moment, but I do fear that Jay or Otto, when they're cross, will just blurt it out and tell him. But
Yeah.
that's how it happens, isn't it? Eventually, Nicholas Forbes told me in the playground at school when I was, probably about 5. So as well as sort of the belief in Father Christmas, there are also the occasions where, again, sort of these projections as parents of neurodivergent kids of going, well, let's show the kids the magic. Let's take them to see Santa. And that has not been as magical as I'd hoped. I'll be honest. We've had some experiences with Santa. What have yours been to visit any Santas?
I think we sort of stopped doing Santa visits after we went on the Polar Express, which we were all really excited about. We donned our Christmas matching pajamas, you know how all the rest of the
What
world
is the
do
Polar
it.
Express? Just take me
So
through.
it's
Isn't
like
isn't
a
the Polar Express a
no,
movie?
yeah, well, it's like an experience, and you go on a steam
Okay,
train or whatever it is, and there's sort of like a show on the train where they do dancing and singing, and they hand out hot chocolate and cookies, and you kind of
that sounds
outside the
great.
window, there's like this wonderful display, and you kind of go along the display, and it takes you on the journey to Lapland, and at the end of the journey, Father Christmas, you meet Father Christmas, and he gets on the train, and and he gives a gift to all of the children. And just hadn't even occurred to me, and hadn't even anticipated. Well, there's fake snow as well, which is always quite exciting. But I just hadn't anticipated that Amber just was totally confused by the whole thing, because we had told her we were going on a train to Lapland to see Father Christmas. The train didn't go
Right.
to Lapland. It went somewhere else in Sussex, and then a man dressed as Father Christmas got on the train and gave everybody a gift. And she was it's like, you said we were going to Lapland to see Father Christmas. We are not in Lapland. And she just absolutely didn't get it. And I think it was at that point we were like,
She called you out, is what she
totally,
did.
totally did. And I think when I reflect on the is he, isn't he Santa Claus issue as well, and I think, are my kids the kind of kids that I should be lying to this extent every year
Uh,
consistently? Is this the right thing to
yeah,
be
because that's
doing?
the thing. It's like, yeah, just to believe in the magic, and it's like, well, no, because
We're just feeding
it's
you a
kind of,
line every year.
yeah, exactly. We just want you to believe in the magic. And was it a real beard, or was it a quite evidently fake beard?
Oh, it's clearly a fake Santa. I mean, it was a nice costume and
Oh
whatever,
man.
they shelled out for it, but she was just having none of it, and it floored me, because I just thought, I mean, she was still quite young at that point. I think she must have been 5 or 6, and
So did she call you out on the train in earshot of all the other children
trying
who were
to
believing in
remember
it?
now. She was just sort of like you said, we were going to Lapland. We're not in Lapland, and she was just really grumpy about it, I think. But I'd taken sort of kind of grandparents along with us who were all really very Christmassy, and I think everybody was just felt a little bit flat that it kind of hadn't really quite panned out how we had hoped.
We're not going to be going to visit Santa this year. I think we're done with that after. I don't think it was last year. It might have been the year before, where we basically disgraced ourselves. um, well, so we went to Father Christmas. We went to see Father Christmas in Preston Manor. So it's a big, manor house in
Very
Brighton, and
idyllic Christmas setting.
it's beautiful in there. And the Santa was absolutely spot on. It was a real beard. He was really, really giving it everything he had. But the whole experience, from my perspective, was really stressful because, I mean, firstly, you go in there, and all of the other kids are dressed in Christmas clothes. Like, like elf costumes and
Hmm.
like Christmas jumpers. And they're really smart, because I think, other parents is like, well, you've got to dress smart for Santa, and the kids will just go, yes, of course I do, and they'll just fucking do it, right? I'm not. That's not going to swing with
How
my
the other
kids.
half live.
Um, exactly. I don't think I want to live that way. Dress up to see Santa. Anyway, um, so
Dress up to sit on some strange man's knee.
exactly. So my rabble rock up in whatever they're wearing, probably onesies, whatever it is, and they're expecting to see Santa. Now, Jay already knows that it's a sham, um, and Otto is probably suspicious, but he's happy to kind of just suspend disbelief there. And India is none the wiser. So we turn up, and we're because they do you in batches, because it's a racket now. It's like it's a machine, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, these people here, we're going to entertain these people with some elves and some Christmas music and some hot chocolate, while we're getting the other ones out the back door. And Santa has a shot of whiskey before the next lot come in, right? um so so then they funnel us through into this room, and there's Christmas songs playing, and everyone has to sit down and wait. But that in itself is not a given with
No.
my kids. They can sitting down and waiting. They're two issues.
Yeah.
Sitting still and waiting for a thing they want to happen are problematic. So everyone else is sitting very
So you didn't
nicely.
get the opportunity to queue jump with your sunflower lanyard or anything like that?
I think that was probably in the days before I started to realise that I should stop trying to crowbar my children into neurotypical situations and expecting them to behave like neurotypicals just by osmosis. You know, you pack them tightly enough with neurotypicals, they'll behave like them. Of course they won't. What they will do is they will appall everyone around them. So anyway, they were already pretty fizzy by the time they went in to see Santa. Then they go into this beautiful drawing room with this massive, like, tree, and there are elves there getting the children to sit on the floor before Santa comes in. My kids are not going to sit on the floor. When you ask them to do that, so they're sort of milling around, and I'm trying to shepherd them there, and I'm also, trying to say to Jay, well, obviously sit down, otherwise Santa's not going to come. And then I realise that I need to stop that line, because he's going to be, well, Santa's not real, and ruin it for all of these kids. So I just go, he didn't say that. I was just like, I caught myself and went, come and sit with me. Just come and stand over here with
It's
me.
like a PDA worst
That's all right.
nightmare.
Yeah, it's like a grenade, isn't it? In the middle of that experience for so many kids, it's like a really special thing for them.
Reflecting on that, and quite glad that I've not done it over the last couple of years now that ticks are really involved in our life. It's
Oh God,
could
yeah,
you imagine?
yeah. So yeah, because we're going to be ruining lots of people's Christmases. They're going to be hearing some very non-festive language. Uh, so all the kids are waiting there, very expectant, and the elves are trying to, because the elves are essentially crowd control at this point, as well, aren't they? That's
Hmm.
their job. They set dressing and crowd control all in one, to go, well, sit down, otherwise Santa won't come out, and all that guff, right? So, but Otto and India do sit down, and that's okay. And then finally, Santa shuffles out and tells a story, and it's it's fine, but we all know why we're here. We're not here for the story, are we, dude? Bring out the presents and let's go, because I'm already like I'm already on edge, just thinking Jay could ruin Christmas for everyone, and I'm already feeling a lot of judgment from the other parents as well because my children are deemed as naughty, right? It's like and I'm not going to just explain the situation to every one of them, so I just kind of let it happen. And then he gets out his bag of presents, and this is one of the ones where in advance you sort of, because you book on, so they've got a list of all the kids, right? They've got the kids' names written down.
Hmm.
So he gets out the present and he reads the kid's name, and the kid comes up and takes the present, and then he gets the next one, and it takes for ages,
It
right? And my
sounds painful.
kids, it's just like, when is my present? And they're getting fizzier and fizzier. And for whatever reason, we're right near the end, and I can I can tell because he doesn't know who the kids are, so he's reading the names, and like I can tell he's hoping that the name he reads out next to these kids over here, my kids, right? It's like, you know. Joseph? No, it's not Joseph. Oh, okay, fine. It's like he's trying to get us through the door. And eventually my kids go up and they get their present, and he's like, okay, but don't open it until you get outside. Um
It's like a red rag to a bull.
which it really is as well, because obviously all of the presents are the same, aren't they? Basically,
Hmm.
well, they have, which another thing that just drives me crazy is they have boy presents and girl presents. Like, why
Why? Yeah.
why do they have to be gendered? Just give them a present and move along. um so so obviously Jay rips open his present. It's a blackboard and chalk. Uh,
Disappointing.
which, but they're all disappointing. You're not it's not going to be a PlayStation, is it? What are you expecting? So, but obviously he can't disguise his disappointment there as well. So he's muttering under his breath something, and he drops off, and I have to kind of follow him. Basically, we eventually get out, and then they're like, right, you can look around the manor now because your entrance fee, also includes look. It's like, nope, we're just getting the fuck out of here. Let's get in the car. So yeah, we just bundled into the car and left, and I just thought, that is, I'm not going to do that style of Santa
It's
again.
just not. It's just not
Basically,
worth it, is it? Yeah, there's other ways of creating the magic and tailoring it to your own brand of family unit, I think.
yeah. Yeah, exactly that. And it's also, it's just another of those experiences. I'm like, that was entirely my fault. That is not on my kids. That's on me. I should not have I shouldn't have brought us here.
You kind of feel like your years are numbered though for the Christmas magic, and you kind of, you know that that's going to end at some point.
I mean, it ended that day. So we're talking about the sort of the build up to Christmas and the kind of Christmas magic, and a part of that build up is kind of writing a Christmas list, I guess. And you're saying that, at the moment PDA is is putting a stop to actually writing the Christmas list for Amber. Is that right?
Yeah, very much. I mean, she's got some very specific Christmas wants this year, but she went and bought one for herself the other day, so that was immediately one that I can't get her for Christmas because she's squirreled away all of her money,
Right.
and she's really good at saving. So I don't like to say no when she actually wants something. She said, "Well, can I use some of my savings to go and buy that?" And it's kind of like, well, yeah, you haven't really bought anything this year. Okay, go on then. But it was like that was the one thing I knew
Yeah.
she wanted for Christmas, and she's gone and bought it for
I
herself.
guess it's
But I tried to sit down with her the other day and say, well, how about I type your Christmas list on the laptop, and we can look up some links, and you can tell me exactly what you want, and we can put the link on the list. And she was like, oh, fine. And I was sort of looking up these sort of Pokemon toys and things that she wants. She's like, you are so wasting my time. This is taking forever. I'm not interested. I'm going. And it's like, okay, knowing full well that, if we don't get the thing that she has envisaged probably in the middle of her head, that we're going to pay for it Christmas
yeah.
Day. And that sounds like, the neurotypical viewpoint of that is how spoiled. But actually, she has a very set image in her head. I mean, last year, against our better judgment, she was desperate for a Barbie dream house. She wanted a Barbie
Right.
dream house. We knew that she wouldn't play with the Barbie dream house, but it was the only thing she actually wanted. So we got the Barbie dream house, and the Barbie dream house has been played with probably less than 10 times and is currently in my hallway waiting redistribution to some other child now.
Was it well received on the day though?
Yes, it was. It hit the mark on the day. It was what she wanted. Great, job done. But this year, I'm struggling to even get the what is it that you want on Christmas Day?
Yeah,
And I think she'll have that expectation of, the big pile of presents, which the pile gets smaller as you get older because the things you want are smaller and
yeah,
more
yeah, yeah, yeah.
expensive. So, facing this small pile of Nintendo Switch games and Pokemon cards versus a giant box that she got last year with a Barbie
I
Dreamhouse
think
in it.
in a way though, I quite like the fact that my kids aren't they're not sort of into what their mates are into. They don't want presents for the sake of
Mm.
presents, or they don't want presents for the sake of the fact that most of their classmates are getting that, or that's the thing to get this year. So that's quite nice in a way that they're not just going, I want this, and I want this, and I want this, and like this, and just firing a bunch of
She
different
no, she's
requests at
got
me.
very, very focused interests, and I always try and get, sort of Oscar's really into football,
Hmm.
so everything will probably be football related, or, he'll be delighted with a new pair of football boots or
Hmm.
something, or a new pair of goalie gloves under the tree, and that's all quite practical. I can deal with that. Um, and Amber she is in complete Pokemon zone at the
Okay.
moment, so everything will be Pokemon themed. So, okay, a new lunchbox, okay, a new water bottle, okay, some clothes with Pokemon on. That's fine. So I think we can work around it, but it would be nice if she would write a list, but she's having none of it.
I mean, Otto is extremely anxious about writing Christmas lists and always has been.
Mm.
So I mean, because he's got, he has huge problems with choice, with choosing things. It's
Yeah.
PDA, I think, isn't it? It's that demand of like you've got to tell me something, and he's like, oh, there are too many things, and if I say a thing, then what if that's the wrong thing? What if that turns out to be something I don't want? And so he panics a little bit. So that's quite
I
hard
think
for
that's
him.
part of Amber's issue as well. The kind of PDA and choice is really, really difficult. And it feels so final, doesn't it? When you write something on a list to say, well, that's what I want. Well, what if I change my
Yeah,
mind?
yeah.
It's,
Um, I mean, Jay has no such issues. He knows exactly what he wants.
yeah.
But it's always really odd, right? So uh, one year, when he was like 3, he was like definitely wanted a pogo stick. That was a very definitely wanted a pogo stick. Fine, I can do that. That's not a problem. What a couple of years ago, he wanted a kitchen knife. Um, which is again, I was like, okay, we could do that because he's not going to use it without our supervision, and that might help him to
You hope.
yeah, exactly. No, I know where it's locked. It's fine. Um, but it might help him be more kind of confident in the kitchen, and might actually get him
Mm.
to cook food he will eat. So yeah, that's fine. I mean,
Could be an added bonus
it
there.
hasn't happened. That hasn't manifested itself, but that's fine. You can imagine. You can dream. Um, then last year he wanted a cloak because
Okay,
again,
cool.
he's
Fair
living
enough.
his Victorian dream of just having a cloak. This year he was like, and this is a couple of months ago. Do you know what I want for Christmas, Daddy? No, I don't. A banana peeler. It's like what?
Okay. Can you even get banana peelers?
Apparently so.
You can get like banana shaped lunch boxes to put bananas
Yeah,
in.
no, it was very specifically a banana peeler. I was like, your hands are banana peelers. Didn't know there's an actual thing. He's like, no, there's a thing, and he tried to describe it. He was like, all right, fine, I've got it. You're gonna get a banana peeler. That's it. But I like the fact that it's not. He's not. He's doing it because he wants it, not because other people are
Yeah.
getting it, or I don't know. Um,
And like Oscar, who's going on about cash and a laptop.
is that what he's saying? Cash, cold hard cash, mummy.
Yeah,
That's what I
cash.
want.
Cash has been suggested.
Really.
Cash and a laptop.
All I want for
Yeah.
Christmas, mummy, is for you to make it rain. So once the Christmas list has been written and it comes to Christmas Day, what I'm interested in is what your day looks like and how that looks, because everyone's Christmas is so different. Everyone has different traditions,
Yeah.
um,
I mean, what?
and those traditions are compromised somewhat, I guess, by your personnel.
Yeah. Well, yeah, my personnel, not always my kids, I think, reflecting on last
Okay.
Christmas. I would, um, yeah. I was a
What
funny
happened
one.
last Christmas,
Well,
Belle?
we sort of we planned really well. We were like, right, we're not going to have loads of people round. We're not going to have the family coming in and out like buses. We're going to keep everything really low
Yes.
key, and we're going to have a really chill Christmas. And one of the self-imposed kind of Christmas traditions that I imposed from my childhood, which still carries on to this day, is that when people open their stockings, we sit in bed. I am presented with
Okay.
a cup of tea, and we open the stockings in bed. And
That's very civilized.
yeah, and that's it's just really nice. We're all in our gym jams, we've got
Mm.
a cup of tea
Hmm.
there, everybody's opening their bits and pieces, and that was going swimmingly. And for years, pre-kids, my husband and I have always got each other stockings, and that's just been something that we've done.
Hmm.
Um, and so this year the kids came down with their stockings. The dog was there. I had my cup of tea. Great, they're opening their stockings. I've managed to strategically hide husband's stocking in the room and gone, oh look, Santa left this for you. Oh, here's your stocking. And there was a look of abject horror on his face, and I was like, hmm, okay, hmm, what's happening here? And then I think the first person to pick up on it was Amber, and she's like, "Where's your stocking?"
Oh my
And
God.
I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. Santa's probably left it somewhere silly." And I just, see this look of horror on my husband's face. And then he says, "You said we weren't doing them this year." And I'm like, "I have no recollection of that conversation.
Oh
I
no.
genuinely don't." And there's some
So,
debate about this now. He seems to still think that we had some conversation where the stocking for each other was kind of stood down. But it wasn't. And, she'd gone from perfect Christmas morning mood instantly to utter devastation, and Christmas is cancelled. Christmas has
Santa has
forgotten
missed you
mummy.
out because you've been a naughty girl,
I have been
and she's
Mummy
now
has been
wondering.
naughty. She is absolutely outraged because Mummy
Oh
is
my
not
God.
naughty, and she's devastated, and Christmas is ruined. Oh, it was just
And she
awful.
feels a very keen sense of
Oh,
injustice as well. So
huge,
she's
absolutely
like
huge.
fighting your corner, no doubt.
Absolutely huge. And she was on strike. Christmas was cancelled. Oscar was starting to get
Oh
upset, and
no.
it's I hadn't even started drinking my cup of tea at this point. And it was, we'd gone from, yes, we're going to win this Christmas, to, oh dear God, here we go. From the
I mean,
moment
that's
we've gotten up.
really early for it to go wrong as
Yeah, I
well.
think it was probably about 5 o'clock in the morning. It was really, really early, Mark,
Oh my
as Christmas
God.
mornings tend to be. And so I sort of, I can't even remember what happened. I probably suggested that, oh, maybe Santa's left it somewhere around the house, to which there was some frantic scrambling of the husband, and then my stocking
It
appeared
drives to a petrol
with
station.
some
Get-
unwrapped items in it. And I think there's
Oh
a
no.
pair of socks that was going to be gifted to somebody else that hadn't been wrapped yet in there, and a sort of a miniature bottle of gin that had been taken from the bar, and God knows what else was in there. I think a bar of chocolate from the fridge or something. But it worked, and Christmas
Did
was
it
it
work?
did.
Okay,
It
wow.
did.
Good
Christmas was saved. And
improvising.
I was like, oh, silly Santa, hiding my stocking round the house.
As you're
But oh
swigging the gin.
yeah, it was a whew moment. It could have just coloured the whole rest of the day.
Yeah, that early morning bit is actually quite nice for us as well, I guess. I mean, it's because there's no one else around, right?
No, it's
It's
lovely.
just you, so it's like we're we know we're controlling the variables. It's important.
I
So
think the other thing as well that I always used to try and enforce on Christmas Day was a no TV rule. I mean, that has absolutely gone out the window. Of course, TV is involved on Christmas Day.
why would you do that? I
Exactly.
mean,
Stupid, stupid. But the routine is kept as normal. There's breakfast
yeah,
as normal breakfast would be in front of the TV, and that's fine. And and we
hmm,
just we just now try and keep things as normal as they sort of can be on a
yeah.
Christmas day.
Yeah, so we have stockings in similarly, but Tam and I don't get each other stockings. But the kids have stockings and they open their presents from their stockings. But what we do then is have breakfast. So stockings is kind of small stuff basically, and we then have breakfast. And rather, because when I was a kid, my mum, she loves Christmas and she would go really overboard for Christmas. And there'd be a mountain of presents. And we'd just be ripping open the presents and going, hey, that's a good thing. And
Oh
then another
no, I
thing.
can't do
We
it that
don't
way.
do that with our lot.
I can't do
No,
that. I'm very rigid about that. People can't just pile into the presents because then nobody knows who got
no.
who what. And no, it has to be done in a one at a time, orderly fashion. Everybody has to watch each other opening their presents.
Yes, that's what we do. That's absolutely what we do. But that has backfired sometimes when we go somewhere else and they're just ripping into presents. Jay is like, no,
That's
you
not how
cannot do that.
Christmas is done. I'm with
That is
him. I'm
not what we do
absolutely
here.
with him.
He's
There's a way.
so he's because he loves the giving the
Hmm.
presents out. So there was a time that we went, and this is the time of the biggest Christmas meltdown that Jay ever had. So we went to my parents' house, and we had open our presents, and the cousins, my brother and his kids were coming over, and so we were like waiting for the cousins, and he wanted to give them presents, right? And he kept saying, "When can we give them presents?" So we'll wait, obviously wait for them to get here. Wait for them to get here. Then they arrived and they hadn't even got their coats off, and he was like trying to give them presents. And various different people were saying, "No, not yet, not yet. Just wait, just wait." But he'd had this
Oh,
expectation in
bless
his
him.
head all morning. That was what was going to happen. They were
Hmm.
going to come through the door and he was going to give them presents. And so when he was told that that wasn't going to happen, he just couldn't handle it because he was so excited and he was so sort of keen to do it and for this to be Christmas like he'd imagined, that he just had a complete meltdown. And I've not really seen it since. And he was just rolling around on the floor and making these kind of animal noises and
Oh, totally boiled
really
over.
like
Poor thing.
rare, completely, like that was it, he was done. And I sort of had to take him away. I literally carried him into a different room and sort of tried to talk him down and understand what was going on. Um, and I spoke to him in the bedroom and said, what's going on? And he was like, people keep telling me different things and I don't know what the rules
Yeah.
are. Which was very clear, actually, very self-aware of him,
Hmm.
because he wasn't really, able to articulate that really at that age. So it was very, very clear. And it's like, okay, so what we did is we said, okay, at this time we are going to open presents with the cousins, and you are going to be the Christmas elf, and you are going to hand out the presents, okay? And we made it a thing. He had a role.
Yeah.
Again, we've kind of talked about the importance of giving them a
They
just
need a job.
defining what
Yeah.
it is that's going to happen and what they're doing.
Yeah.
So then his job was handing out presents to people, and that's where he became a bit of a militant elf. It's like, you cannot have that present. You can't open that present yet because Granddad's not finished opening his present. And
Yeah. You have to
so it
wait. You
was a
have to
little bit
watch
like,
the other person
yeah,
open their
it
present.
was a little bit like Christmas at gunpoint. Uh, but but it definitely kind of resolved that little the situation that we found
Mm.
ourselves in, and it worked in the end. So that was good. So you're saying that you don't have visitors at Christmas
Well,
now, is
we
that
no, we
right?
did. We had my brother and his girlfriend last year, which was really, really lovely. It was just the six of us, and it was really, really chilled
Okay.
and really relaxed, and it was really, really nice. And then when the kids went to bed as normal, we stayed up late and played some board games, and regretted that the next morning. But so that was really lovely. So we got a really good balance last Christmas. I think this year we either haven't got anybody coming or we've got my husband's dad coming. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, I can't be doing with too much family traffic on the day. It's better if they come on the
Yeah.
Boxing Day once the kind of the initial expectation of the day is kind of over.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Um,
Chilled and relaxed are not words that I would ever use to describe our Christmases. And I think, yeah, maybe we do too much, but there's an expectation that we basically, different people in my family and Tam's family host Christmas. So we sort of rotate. What we do is we always have Christmas morning at ours, and then they're kind of a drivable distance away, so we all then pile into the car and go to whoever's house it is. But then when you do that, obviously that's fine when it's small, but when more people
mhm.
come,
Yeah.
dysregulation occurs. And even though they're people that we know and we love and the kids know and they're comfortable with, it's not that. It's just this. It's almost like a frog in hot water.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
just bubbling away, and then all of a sudden, because it's so sensory to them, and I overlook that every year, and I totally shouldn't do that, and it's completely wrong of me. But there is so much going on for them in terms of number of
Hmm.
people and smells and different
Paper
sounds and
everywhere, pine needles everywhere. The dog's overexcited.
yeah.
And
And so there becomes that so that gradual build up until there's a time where it's just like, yeah, that's it, we're done. And Jay will usually be the one that calls that.
yeah.
He's just like, we're going now. It was like last year. I went to my brother's. He was hosting, and they've got a really lovely big house, and it was really nice. And then Jay, like quite early, just went, "Can we go home now, please?"
Yeah.
And my brother gets it, and but I wasn't ready for that. I wanted to stay because it's my family Christmas as well.
It's difficult, isn't it? As parents, you kind of, we're excited about Christmas. We want to enjoy it as well in the way that we would enjoy it. And I think,
Yeah.
I think if I've learned anything over the last couple of years is to kind of manage my own expectations a bit. And I think, I've enjoyed Christmas far more having what I think are more low demand Christmases now, where we do, I
Hmm.
mean, I wouldn't have dreamed a few years ago of not seeing my parents Christmas Day, but my mum and dad get it. And we talked about this year, and mum and dad are like, oh, we're going to stay at home, we're going to have your grandparents to us, and maybe we'll see you on Boxing Day or the day after. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. It's we've got some time off this year, so that's not a problem.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite Christmas, and I think I speak for a lot of neuroshambolic families when I say
Uh,
this. My favorite Christmas was COVID Christmas.
where you had a low demand Christmas, you didn't have all those visitors.
Fucking brilliant, because we weren't allowed
Hmm.
legally. We were not allowed to have visitors.
No.
It's like, and we were legally not allowed to go and visit people. So we had exactly the Christmas we wanted. It was, and like I personally love being sociable, and I love going to people. But for my family, that Christmas was wonderful because we did everything we wanted to do at our own
You
pace.
know what the answer is then? Just tell everybody you've got COVID at Christmas. Nobody will want you then. You can stay at
Exactly.
home
Sorry,
in your
guys, I'm
pants,
riddled with the COVID. You don't want me.
eating your Christmas
Oh
dinner.
man, it'd be amazing. And like I say, like I do love it, but it's not the best thing for my kids, I guess. My mum in particular loves Christmas and loves gifting,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
so what we did is I drove to my parents like the week before. They left a big bag of presents outside the door for the kids, and I piled them into my car and then drove home. Um, and then on Christmas Day, we had a Zoom call with them where
Yeah.
we opened the presents in front of them. Uh, because
Hmm.
my kids are super excited about very small presents. It's like they lose their minds.
Oh, it's nice though.
Literally, Jay has been jumping up and down, going, "I've got socks! Yes, I've got socks!" It's like they're just socks, dude. And so I was in this situation where my parents are on the screen watching my kids open these presents and loving it, and I'm watching my parents watching my kids and seeing them just really kind of glow. And that was just a really magical Christmas that year. And I know a lot of people died. And I know it was harrowing for many people who couldn't get to see their families, but that for that little pocket of time, it was exactly what we
Hmm.
needed, and it was really nice. So I think that's Christmas well and truly covered, and it's making me both look forward to and dread Christmas this year, all in one, which is quite an interesting feeling.
It's not all rubbish.
Okay, it's time for It's Not All Rubbish, where we're going to be looking at the positive aspects of parenting neurodivergent kids. So let's kick off with neurodiversity champions. Have you got any neurodiversity champions for us, Belle?
Yeah, I think I have actually, reflecting on a situation that I had last week that I know I messaged you about, and I think you found quite entertaining. But I had me and my husband had the foresight to just really reflect on how mad mad life is at the moment with work and with one out of full-time education, etc. And we hired ourselves a cleaner. Cleaner, come in 2 hours a week, lovely clean house, one thing less
Yeah.
for us to deal with. How very middle class, but how very lovely all at the same time. But hadn't really anticipated that Amber would really not tolerate the cleaners coming into the house and absolutely refusing point blank to let them in to
Was
our
the cleaner waiting
yeah, oh
outside?
yeah, there was two of them,
Oh,
and no, they were allowed in
right.
the house, but the one place that I really wanted cleaned was our kitchen, living, and dining area, which is all kind of open plan and in together. It's the biggest space in the house, really. And no matter what I tried, no means of negotiation, she was having absolutely
Uh,
none of it.
like, as in, was
Absolutely
just
none of it.
physically not going to move from the space and not going to allow it.
No, and she was getting more and more dysregulated, and I tried everything, bribery, everything, and she was just having absolutely none of it. And it was really difficult because I was I'm that person, and they've been here a couple of times, and this is now the second time she's flat out refused to let them in. And it was kind of like, okay, well, thanks, ladies, if you could just do what you can. Yeah. And they're like, is she going to let us in? And I'm like, no, she's not. And and I sort of, that was really difficult, and I did spend a lot of time thinking, can I not bloody outsource anything in my life? I'm going to be confined to Cinderella behaviours forever and ever and ever. And I think there was some comment around, well, nobody can clean the house apart from you.
Oh,
That's your
great.
job. At one point from Amber. So yes, I was both seething and disappointed, but also laughing slightly at the whole ludicrousy of the
Oh,
situation. But that kind of leads me on really to my recommendation of the local business that provides my semi cleaning services at the moment, because the girls that come to the house are just wonderful. They're so understanding and so sweet about the whole situation, and there's absolutely no judgment from
oh,
them at
that's
all.
nice.
They're just sort of like, they're like, is there anything we could do differently?
Oh,
Do you think the smell of things, and or
that's really
or
sweet.
what if we came in and we had a chat and introduced ourselves? Would that help? And they've just been so sweet. None of it will help, but they've just been absolutely lovely about it. So I'd really like to kind of give a shout out to this amazing cleaning company called Amazing Maids, who are based over in sort of East
Hmm.
Sussex, primarily Eastbourne sort of area. And they're just wonderful. Not only do they absolutely do an absolutely smashing job, but equally the staff that they have are just so lovely and so understanding, and just made a really awkward, difficult situation 10 times easier than it could have been.
Brilliant. Okay, that's a great shout out. Thank you for that. I've got a quick neurodiversity champion shout out, and this is for Glow Wild. I don't know if you've heard of Glow Wild.
Oh,
um,
I've not been though. It sounds lovely.
so Glow Wild is an event that is at Wakehurst, which is like a National Trust property, but it's run by Kew Gardens, and it's just what they do is they put around these sort of paper lanterns through, like, I think it's about a mile.
Mm.
Walk through these amazing gardens and these brilliant, beautiful landscapes, but it's all lit up like incredibly with these paper lanterns, and you get like lanterns that you can walk around with as well. And we've been a few times, and it's really magical. So my kids are so sensory seeking as well, that to see this really beautiful landscape lit up in really inventive, different ways, and kind of spotting all the different sort of lights and stuff is we really love as a family, or like all of us, and we've been a few times. But the reason why they're neurodiversity champions is because they have two special sessions. They have a quiet session and a relaxed session before other people get there, so there are fewer people.
Oh, that sounds
I think they
wonderful.
turn down the sound a little bit. They
Yeah.
do it a bit earlier, so it's not as dark as well. Um, and it's just, yeah, they just really do a great job because you're not jostling with lots and lots of people, and it gives them chance to enjoy it and for us to be a little bit more uh, relaxed as we're going around. So I would give a big shout out to that. If anyone can get over to Wakehurst for that, it is really worth it.
That sounds absolutely wonderful, Mark.
As it is with all of the neurodiversity champions, I'll put a link in the show notes in case anyone wants to read a little bit more.
Tiny epic wins.
The next section is what I have now renamed. It's no longer tiny wins. It's tiny epic wins.
Tiny epic wins. Yay.
Oh, so tiny in a neurotypical world, but epic in ours. And my tiny epic win from this week is that Otto made a salad.
Made a salad.
Right,
Did he use Jay's
right.
knife?
No, I'm not letting me anywhere near the actual knives, dude. Yeah, so Otto is his fine motor skills are really not great. So he can't use cutlery, and I try and encourage him to do cooking with us. And Tam does as well. We try to involve him, and he's he will always say no, and I know why he says no is because he's got a fear of failure and a fear of not being able to do it. And even if we ask him in a non-PDA way, he just doesn't pick up the hints that we're dropping. It's like, hey, I'm making pizza and I could do with some extra help. He's like, well, whatever, I'm off. So
Bless him.
so but he came up to me out of the blue and went, I want to make a salad. And I was just like, fine, hold everything. Yes, we're going to make a salad. I was, yeah, exactly. I dropped everything to help him make this salad because it's so unusual for him to do that. And I also know that when he learns to do something, once he has that, he wants to do it again and he's got the confidence. So I dropped everything and I helped him make this salad. And we chose all of the ingredients and I helped him with the peeling the carrots that he found quite hard. And quite a lot of personal danger to myself. I'm holding the tomatoes as he's trying to chop them with a knife, because like working with him, because again I don't want him to fail. And I don't. He's doing chopping, and I'm teaching him, and it was really lovely because I haven't had many of those kind of more hands-on experiences with him. And he was really proud of it, and like as Tam is aware of how important this is to him as well. So Tam is immediately like, "Oh, let me try it," and really bigged it up. And so now he can make a salad.
That's
And
amazing.
we had some people around the other day, and again, because he now knows this, he was like, "Oh, can I make a salad again?" It's like, "Yes, you can. Of course, you can." So,
Fantastic.
I mean, it's the middle of winter. We don't want salads, but
It's going to be his
I'm not
party
gonna.
dish.
It is. I'm not going to say no to that now, am I? So now we're going to try and get him onto more complex things. Beef Wellington's next.
Fantastic. Oh, go Otto.
Yeah. So very happy about that.
What the flip?
Okay, it's always my favourite section. It's the what the flip section, where I basically divulge all the stuff that I've been having to subsume over the last few weeks. Is the moments that my children make me go, what? And I don't know if you've had any what the flip moments at all, Belle.
Um, no, I'm just trying to think of some. I don't think I have actually, Mark.
I mean, I've got plenty,
Not
so don't
this
worry about
time.
that.
So you fill in the
So
gaps here.
right, so again on the on the cooking front, Jay was like, "Oh, I'm bored. I'm really bored." I was like, "Okay, let's make some biscuits." And straight away he went, "Yes." I was like, "Brilliant. Okay, you look up some recipes." He went, "No recipes." It's like
Biscuit roulette.
exactly that, right? He believes that he can just do it, just make it up. And I, having tasted some of his chocolate cakes, can assure you he doesn't know how to do it because it's like rubber. Okay, and he's got this thing about he refuses to use recipes. So it's like no recipes, and I went, Jay, you need to know the quantities of the ingredients. I've been cooking for years and I still use recipes. And he went, exactly, and your food is disgusting. It's like, so we didn't make biscuits in the end. It
You
didn't
didn't
happen.
make them. You didn't make biscuits for biscuit roulette.
No, he refused.
That sounds like a good Christmas game.
Yeah, it is like, yeah, it's one of these biscuits has been made by Jay. Which one?
Can you
Guess
guess
which
which
one?
one?
It's the one that bounces when you drop it on the floor. um, the the other what the flip moment I had from nowhere, out of the blue, he just turned to me and went, "Daddy, you're the French bulldog of the family because you have a messed up face." It's like, what? Oh man, it's a good job I've stopped caring about that, isn't it?
Oh dear. I think that's talking about the messed up face situation. I suppose that does prompt one thought that I had that Oscar really struggles when I change my hair
Oh
massively.
really?
Yeah, so he's introduced me a couple of times over the last few weeks as that woman over there with the horrible hair because I
Oh
I
my god.
deigned to go to the hairdressers and have my badly grown out roots tended to and decided that I couldn't be blonde any longer because I simply don't have the time, so I've gone back to my natural roots.
And
Yeah.
he's disowned you now.
Oh,
That's it.
absolutely hates it.
You're dead to
Hates
him.
it. I went to pick him up from football and he just took one look at me. He's like, "Why have you done that?" And yeah, and all the other
Oh,
mums just sort of looked at me aghast. I'm like, don't worry, I was fully expecting it.
exactly. We're just so used to it now. It just bounces off us, doesn't it?
Hmm.
I have one more what the flip moment, which sort of underpins this. Um, is that he went to a charity shop with Tam again to kind of as something to do. He because you can go to a charity shop and he can like root around. He likes knickknacks and like street finds. He loves street finds. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, yeah.
When people just leave stuff outside their house they're getting rid of, it's like wicked, and he's rooting through all their crap,
It's
and he'll find
free.
something shiny, and it's like a big thing for him, right?
Mm.
So we're in a charity shop, and he's bought. Oh, I wasn't there. He bought a cheese knife. Right? Don't know why. He bought a silver plated cheese knife, and I didn't know he bought this, so I sort of looked in on him, and he's in front of the mirror and he's got this cheese knife and he's gritting his teeth and he's swishing it about. Right? And I
I was
went,
surprised they let him purchase it.
yeah, I mean, but the cheese knife is not really, it's just because it's not sharp and it's sort of like curving. It's got, yeah, it's like a cheddar knife, right? It's not one of the sharp ones. It's one that's like curves up at the end. So it's
Yeah.
not, you're not going to stab anyone with it. You might sort of prong someone with it, but that's the most that you're going to do. But he's swishing it around with malice in his eyes. And I went, Jay, what are you doing? And he went, knife training. This, and he held it up. This is my comfort knife.
Comfort knife. Comfort
Okay.
knife.
It's like it said everything I needed him to say at that point. I was like, yeah, okay. As long as it gives you comfort. I mean, what can I do? Just gingerly close the door and let him get on with it. So that is it. That's the end of the Christmas special of the podcasts.
Quite fitting you've ended it with a cheese knife. That tends to be usually how
Exactly.
Christmas ends.
Yes,
Cheese and
but with
biscuits.
significantly less comfort.
Yes, indeed.
um, so this is the bit, sorry, the kind of slightly tedious bit where I bang on about the socials, because I want to spread the word for the show, because the people that are listening to it, and you are all wonderful human beings, and I really appreciate the engagement that you have with it, and I want other people to hear about it. So if you can let people know about it, just pass it on to people who you think might get something out of it. Please let them know about it. If you want to write to us and tell us something that you would like us to cover on Neuroshambles, any topics, or if you've got anything you want to say about the show, then please email hello@neuroshambles.com. And there's another specific request I want to make to anyone who's on Facebook and you're in any Facebook groups that for parents of neurodivergent kids, because I am not allowed to post on those groups because it counts as self-promotion, right? And I've been I've had posts removed pretty straight away by going, look, I've got this podcast and it is literally for the people in this group by one of the people in this group. I know that technically it's self-promotion, but I wanted to get the word out. So I'm tired of being sort of banned from from those groups for trying to spread the word. So if anyone is on any of these groups, please just put a post about it. Just let people know about it, and then it doesn't count as self promotion, and I will feel a bit better about myself because I don't like being rejected. So that would be great. That's it. I'm done with that now, with the self promotion stuff. All that remains for me to say is Jingle Bell. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to me about your Christmas. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas, and it is everything that you hope it will be. I'm sure it will because you sound fully in control, which is
Yeah,
excellent.
she says that's the
Um,
plan.
don't forget the stockings, is all I'm going to
No.
say.
Oh Lord, no.
Um, no, thank you very much for coming on. And all that remains for me to say now is to the audience, thank you for listening and have a nice life.